Welcome to Bookish Talk, the show that encourages and enlightens bookish reading and empowers inspiring authors to write and publish their fiction or nonfiction story. We are thrilled you are spending your time with us today. I'm Paige Davidson. I'm honored to co host this show with my partner and author of 10,000 Miles with My Dead Father's Ashes, Devin Galladay. Devin, how's the new book?
It is coming along, Paige. It's great to see your face this morning. How are
Thank
you?
you. I'm doing great today. I'm trying to stay warm in Kentucky. It got cold again.
Oh, I love that. But I'm in California, so why wouldn't I love it from afar?
Of course. To inspire our viewers, Devin, we choose a different virtual background each week that features top libraries from around the world. And that's to encourage exploring libraries, reading, writing, and publishing your story. Our virtual background is of Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library in Hartford, Connecticut. It contains the principal rare books and literary manuscripts of Yale University and serves as the center for research by students, faculty, and other scholars, whether affiliated with Yale or not. Materials do not circulate, and other scholars in the reading room sign in and research and register with the Beinecke. And I can tell you that when it says that items do not circulate, just to explain, that means that you can't check out those items. It's one of the largest buildings in the world devoted entirely to rare books and manuscripts. The library has room in the central tower for 180,000 volumes and in the underground book stacks for more than 1 million volumes. And Devin, I've worked in a public library. I've worn those white cotton gloves and worked with those rare manuscripts. And I can tell you there's just such a sense of awe and honor in dealing with those. The temperature and humidity controls ensure that materials are protected for future generations. Devin, last week you shared how authors and publishing companies can benefit from Book Talk, which is a sub-community on the TikTok app focused on books and literature. Young creators make videos reviewing, discussing, and joking about the books they read, and they're hilarious. What are some of the strategies that you use for marketing for Book Talk users?
Paige, or before I jump into that, I just want to say I love the fact that you were wearing gloves and totally nerding out in a library. That means a
Oh,
great
love
deal
it.
to me. I know that you are in the right place. So let's move on. Effective book talk marketing is really no different than any other platform. I have 8 points to share and perhaps some of my own experience along the way. First off, engage with your followers by liking and replying to their comments. However, the key word there is engage, meaning that you're having a back and forth, that you're hopeful in developing a relationship. I'll talk more about this in a minute. Number two, post regularly and reliably. Keep people ready for new content. Make them excited that you're going to be posting something new. And again, keep in mind to engage. Number three, use hashtags to help people discover your videos. It's really important to at least kind of give people a general sense of what they're going to be getting if they come to your page, your site, to your book talk. Number four, post a book cover and reveal the summarizing of your book. This is one of those things where the first three you can kind of keep doing over and over and over again. Really, there's only so many times you're going to be able to reveal your book cover and summarize your book. I mean, you can do the summarization of your book with some regularities. The reveal is kind of more along the lines of a one-time thing. Number five, show your audience about your writing process and the process of editing. This is, for me anyway, in my experiences, this was really a critical piece because people like liner notes. I remember as a kid getting LPs. That kind of dates me. But I would love when artists would put sort of like liner notes about the songs they wrote or how they did something. It was sort of, it brought me like behind the veil a little bit, and made listening and reading that much more interesting overall. So I highly recommend that you do that. Number 6, post an unboxing video and tell your audience about the publishing process. This kind of goes with number 4, where you can really only unbox your first box of books once. You know, you
Yes.
start
Yes.
masking, taping everything up, and then reopening it. I think at some point your audience is going to know that it's not quite real.
I
So keep it
know.
real. Keep it real. Number 7, lend writing tips and tricks for aspiring authors, and share quotes and illustrations, and really just bring potential readers in so that they have a sense of who you are, what you're doing, what you're about. There's kind of like a famous phrase that talks about you want them, your audience, to know, like, and trust you. So when you say, hey, I've written this book and it's really interesting, they will believe you and want to read it. Of course, the backup is that you have to have written something compelling. You have to make a book that people are going to want to know about, at least in a specific genre.
Yes.
Number 8, engage with other book talkers and ask them to post a book review of your book. And by the way, this is sort of a general thing. You want to get as many book reviews as possible. I would say start early. Like, I'm at a stage where I'm actually collecting. My book is nowhere near the point of publishing, but I'm already starting to ask for blurbs from friends and colleagues, because I want to start developing something. I want their audiences to be interested in me. You want to start developing kind of an exponential notion so you can sell as many books as possible, not just for the financial aspect, but more importantly, in my opinion, is so that you can get your message out to as many people as possible.
That's a great
Trying it.
idea.
Yeah,
That's a great
yeah. And finally, make sure to mix up your content so it's not just a self promoting thing. In other words, if you're constantly just saying, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, at some point it becomes noise. There's so much trying to grab our attention that I think the more you worry less about the book promotion and just engage with people, develop relationships with people. And they don't have to be famous people, just anybody. Start developing relationships. I've heard it said, and this in my experience is true, you're not necessarily looking for a million followers, although that would be great. Really, what you're looking for is to have 1,000 people who love you, really are into your work. And that's going to take more of a personal attention on your part. So, anyway, that's what I got. Paige?
I love the way you talked about engaging, Devin, and that really circles me back to last week. Last week, we talked about the benefits of author collaborations and what author collaborations are. That's a form of writing by a group of authors who share creative control of a story. And we invited other authors to talk about their journey using their author collaborations with Action Takers Publishing. And I was one of those authors. This week, we invited Dr. Kim Martin, founder of North Shore Health Solutions, and Rita Farrugia, founder of HappyBeingWell.com, both co-authors of Wellness for Winners. And I will say, Devin, that I also am a co-author of Wellness for Winners. So I'm welcoming my colleagues here.
I'm feeling a little left out somehow.
I want to welcome Rita and Dr. Kim to Bookish, and congratulations on your author collaboration with Action Takers Publishing and becoming Amazon #1 international bestsellers. For the benefit of our viewers that have never considered themselves as authors, what is the title of your chapter? What or who encouraged you to get out of your comfort zone? And how has becoming an author impacted you personally? And I'd like to start with Rita to answer that question.
Well, thanks, Paige. Thanks for the warm welcome. Yeah, I'm excited. We published and it hit number international bestseller. The title of my chapter is Happy Being Well, which is the name of my company and website. What got me out of my comfort zone to publish, the chapter in the book collaboration was to get what Devin said, my message out there. And I just thought, what a perfect way to collab with other amazing authors who are sharing the same interests in wellness, and kind of kickstart me and to start, writing more books. And it's just a great way to kind of get started, is doing it with the collaboration of other authors and commit yourself to one chapter. So
I agree, Rita. It is a fantastic way to get started as a new author, is to be a part of a collaboration. Dr. Kim, what are your thoughts on those things?
Hi there. Thank you for having me. I totally agree. Sometimes I think I can sit down and just write for hours, and other times I could write for 5 minutes and then my brain just stops. So I love the collaboration with other like-minded people so that we can just get our message across exponentially. So love, love, love the collaboration.
Oh, that's great.
Dr. Kim, our mission is to encourage, enlighten, and empower 5 million people to write and publish their story, whatever it may be. As an author, what kind of experience did you receive from family and friends who read your work?
Well, this is the second collaboration I've done, and my patients as well as my family have been buying the book and treating me a little bit differently. They asked for my autograph. So I thought that was just kind of cute. I think the important thing, even with my patients, is I think they feel more connected because I'll have a book in front of me and I'll say, this is my chapter. And they feel, oh, wow, I met a real author, somebody in person, not just on the book. But I think that it's the different messages that are really important, because every chapter is a little bit different. And not only are they going to learn from my chapter, but they can benefit from others as well.
Rita, did you have a similar experience?
My experience was, I think sometimes with friends and family, they know us in a certain way sometimes. And I had people, after they read it, like, you know what, Rita, like, we didn't, reading that portion of what you wrote in terms of your wellness activities, it really shed a light on, inspired them to commit to more wellness activities and kind of find ways to incorporate it in their daily lives. So it's inspiration, because it's like they're kind of seeing you they're getting a piece of you, perhaps, that they may have not really been really showcased in the day-to-day relations or the times they do get to interact with you on a social level. So
thank you. So we only have a brief amount of time left. What words of encouragement would you give to somebody that is on the fence about, writing? Rita?
On the fence about writing a book?
About writing it, yeah, absolutely.
I would say, if you do, once you commit to writing a book, you'll inspire yourself, and you'd be surprised what comes out of you once you start the writing process.
Dr. Kim?
I totally agree. I think that it's important to let people know that we are not, these authors that can write 80,000 words. We are people that have human experiences and we want to share them. And we all have a wonderful experience that we can help inspire others. So it's just being able to pinpoint one particular experience for them. It's kind of like journaling. If we can go through and read some of our journal pages that we wrote many years ago or even recently, there's going to be topics there that we're able to help other people.
I love that. That's incredible advice. Rita, Kim, thank you so much for being with us on Bookish Talk. And when we come back, I will talk about the 9 steps to publishing an ebook.
Thank you.
What is an ebook? The simple answer? It's an electronic book that's completely digital. You can't read an ebook on just anything. You'll need a computer, tablet, smartphone, or dedicated ebook reader like a Kindle to see what's on those pages. Ebooks come in a few different formats, most commonly EPUB and Mobi. Some physical book lovers find them sinful, but ebooks are here to stay, and for good reason. They're super portable. You can easily take stacks of books with you wherever you go. While you can't edit the original file, you can leave notes and add highlights. Basically, you can do what you've always done with physical books, just with less stuff needed. It can actually be pretty easy to make an ebook yourself. Creating an ebook can be done a couple of different ways. You can always fire up Adobe InDesign or Photoshop and try to make one from scratch. If you have the skills, and more importantly, the time, go for it. But for a lot of people, the best way to go is an ebook template. Text boxes and images are already set in your layout. All you need to do is drag and drop photos into their placeholders and add in your text. It's such a time saver. This modern ebook template is just one of the options you can use, and it's on Envato Elements. With a subscription, you can use any of these templates, plus fonts and photos from the full Envato Elements library. If you want to read more about ebooks or check out other templates, just follow the links in the description. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more.
I was wondering when that finger was going to stop hanging there. I was like, this is actually, it was bringing me in, which was kind of interesting because I was thinking about marketing and how, we do different things for marketing, and that finger just hanging there actually just like pulled me in. So anyway, welcome to the Writer's Corner. I love that last segment. Of course, bringing in the authors from Wellness for Winners was really great. And I love, them sharing how being in a book, just writing a chapter in a book, how it may seem so simple to some people, but, just writing that chapter can really make a huge impact on the planet. So my name is Linda Sunshine West, and I want to welcome you to the Writer's Corner. In episode 7, Devin, our guy right here, like he's the master, right? He shared the pros and cons of self-publishing versus traditional publishing. I'm going to share a little bit of my thoughts on that. I am not what they call a traditional publisher, which I don't even know what that term means anymore, just honestly, Devin, but self-publishing versus traditional publishing. There are also publishing companies like mine, we help self-publish other people's books. And so here's my take on this. Just get started. Just get started. If you want to self-publish, go out there and go to YouTube and find out, how do I do it? And I got to share with you, when I published my first book, The Year of Fears, it was hard. I didn't know how to find all the information, but I did it. That's the point, is to just do it. Get your story out there. Whether you're going to go with a traditional publisher, or you're going to go self-publish route, or you're going to have somebody like my company self-publish for you, just get your story out there. As you heard with Dr. Kim and Rita in the last segment, they talked about how impactful it has been in their lives by them publishing their story. So I encourage you to visit E360 TV and watch episode 7 before you publish your book, because Devin gives some really great tips on how to do that. So today, Devin is going to share with us his perspective on ebooks and the 9 steps to publishing an ebook. If you think about it, over the past decade, the way we enjoy novels, nonfictions, biographies, it's changed dramatically. I tried a Kindle. I say tried because it didn't really work for me too well. I'm a paper person. I need this stuff in my hands, Yeah. But for a lot of people, the digital works. And so, things have changed a lot dramatically. And with ebooks and audiobooks, it's been challenging the dominance of the printed books. I say not really, but hey, that's that's what the stats say, right? But I'm my own person. And so, readers might be hungrier for ebooks than ever before, but their appetites aren't indiscriminate. So if you want to entice them into reading your work, you'll have to serve up something mouthwatering that's good down to the very last drop, like drinking that coffee, getting that very last drop, So Devin, before you share those 9 steps, when would you yourself personally publish an ebook?
Oh, that is such a tricky question. And by the way, I just want to say, just getting started, this tip from Linda is, it's really like, just do it. Just get it done little by little. There's that line about how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
I got to stop you there because I don't understand that whole one, because I would never eat an elephant. Okay, go on.
All right. Thank you so much for pointing that out. So maybe you could start smaller, but you get what I'm saying, is that ultimately we're here to sort of just do little bits at a time until it's done. And that's really how I would personally publish an ebook. I've written ebooks before, mostly in the smaller variety. And it's the kind of thing that I have to be really happy with the words that I use and how that I use them. I have to kind of make sure that I have clarity in what my message is, not only for myself, but for the person who's going to sit down. Because the truth of the matter is, if I don't write a compelling first sentence, the reader is not going to read the second sentence. So I just have to make sure that my ducks are in a row, that I'm really happy with what I've written, that I'm happy with the design, I'm happy with the font, I'm happy with all of those things. So I'm going to take now these 9 steps and we'll break them down a little bit. There's actually more, but trust me, we're going to get to all of it.
Devin, before you go on with that list, I want to make a comment about what you just said. You said, I want to be happy with this, right? And I want to share how important that is. Like when we publish our authors, I want to make sure that they absolutely love what they've written. And here's one of the main reasons: I want them to be proud to share it. So it's really important to be happy with what you're putting out there, because if you're not really happy with it, you're not going to feel it, right? When you're on Book Talk and you're talking about your book, you're not going to feel it. So I just wanted to stop you there. So that's awesome. Let's hear.
No, I mean, honestly, that's really critical stuff, because here's on top of it. Let's say you were to be traditionally published and all of a sudden the publisher made all kinds of changes that you were really unhappy and you could have spoken up and you didn't. And they published your work, there's going to be a psychological thing that you're going to hold back because you don't want to run with it, so to speak. And you have to. It has to be like a collaborative effort between the editors, between the publisher, between yourself. And if you're doing it all yourself, you have to be down. You have to absolutely love it. And so again, Linda's spot on with this one. So let's move forward. Step 1, make sure your work is spotless. A word of warning here: self-publishing ebooks are, you can do it really, really fast. So that means an impatient writer can turn a draft, from a bona fide ebook in under an hour and see it go up for sale the next day. This is really, really fast. And perhaps this is why many indie authors prefer digital releases, because the convenience of ebook publishing has a big downside. It's very easy across the board to do everything. But if you are not really clear on having all of your words, grammatically correct, spell checked, all of that stuff, I've had some dear friends put out some ebooks and say, hey man, I'd love your opinion. And once I start catching a bunch of typos, it really is a turnoff. And that's just sort of the bottom line. So you need separate pairs of eyes to help you with this. I would absolutely suggest consider hiring a proofreader, somebody who does it professionally, not just your mother who loves you, but somebody who really does this, professional proofreader or an editor. And we covered more on this last week. Number 2.
Especially not your mother, just because she loves you. Okay.
Right. Yeah, no, that's terrible. But
that's the worst. That's the worst. Don't do that.
But sometimes mom will say, oh, but I'll do it for free. And that's fine. And she means well, but really get a pro. Get somebody who will really work it out for you so you can catch all of those, those fine-tuned mistakes. Number 2, package your ebook with the perfect cover. I don't think there is a perfect cover, but once you fine-tune the text of your ebook, it's really time to package it with a really polished cover. Remember, your cover is your first and perhaps your best marketing asset. It should look great in ads, draws likes on social media, and above all, grabs attention on crowded online marketplaces. Whether you attempt to do it yourself or hand a professional designer the reins, it's important to use cover art to do your book justice. And by the way, I totally get that there are people who are graphic designers out there who also are writers. There are people out there who have incredible talent for art. This would probably, for me, fall into I'm a little too close to it. I would want to get somebody who is not emotionally attached to everything about the book. I want somebody who can go out there and create part of a vision on my behalf rather than me drawing stick figures on a cover because A, I want to save money, or because someone told me it would be a good idea.
I've been there, done that.
Yeah. Step number 3, decide whether you want to be exclusive to Amazon. I don't think you need to, but it's part of the decision-making process. Ultimately, do you want to make money, create a lead generator, or something else? With your cover and your text completed, you've reached sort of a decision-making point of where do you want to take your ebook on its publishing journey. The two divergence path before you really are Amazon or going wide, using everybody else. Amazon has 67% of the global ebook market share and is certainly worth publishing if you should release through Kindle Direct Publishing, no matter what else you do. But if you choose to go wide, that just means you're inviting more people into the pool. And I don't think there's any downside to do that, particularly with something that you love. So give as many opportunities within Amazon or outside of Amazon or both to see your genius. Step number 4, choose your publishing platforms. Know that you're set on diversifying your ebook publishing. You can choose from any number of publishing platforms, including Barnes & Noble Press, Google Play Books, iBook, Apple, Kobo Writing, Life for Authors. An aggregator can be a solution. These authors have so much to, or pardon me, these platforms have tons to offer. Number 5, get your metadata together. That's a very fancy way of saying know the title of your book, know who you've chosen your platforms, know your book description, the categories that define the genre that you're going to be using. All of this is metadata. Step number 6, format your ebook. Now your job is getting your ebook into its final form so that you can finally hit the publish button. Make sure that your manuscript is perfect. And then, of course, keep reviewing these previous steps to make sure that you're completely happy with it before you turn the whole thing into an EPUB file that is used by ebook publishers. Step 7, upload your ebook files in the right format selected by each of the platforms that you're going to choose. Don't worry, you're going to be able to preview the book before you finally set everything in motion. Step number 8, set your price. Once your ebook is uploaded, it's time to decide how much you're going to sell it for. You can change this. I would kind of start high and then offer discounts and deals along the way, maybe even offering a free giveaway. Step number 9, hit publish and show the world how fantastic you absolutely are. Linda, what do you think?
Well, I agree with all of those. And I think it's really important to know, it's really important to know the steps to take because you don't want to waste time and energy, money, which is what I did for my first one for sure. And like that EPUB thing, that's a big deal because when I first went to publish my book on Amazon, that was the first place I went to publish it on Amazon and it got rejected because I didn't use the right format. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. So go find people that can help you to get that out there, put your message out there, get it in that ebook form and get out there and start marketing it. You got to market the book. That's the last thing I wanted to add, like the 9+, right? Is you got to market your own book. It's not like you build it, they will come. You put it on Amazon, people start, coming to it. No, you're going to have to market that book. But it's a really great way to get your message out there in a short way, like Devin said. It doesn't have to be anything long. So that's it for our tips on the ebook. So coming up next, we got the Author's Corner with Sophia Robinson. We'll see you guys in a bit.
This is a book review, TikTok style, where book lovers make short, fast-paced videos using music, sound effects and photos to bring literary works alive.
Hello there.
This is me finishing it.
Even filming themselves sobbing after an emotionally crushing ending. And they're having a monumental influence on book sales. Sisters Murray and Elodie from Hove are among those leading the pack.
Squirt! So give me some fin.
We've reached 280,000 followers, which I can't even comprehend. It's crazy. Our most popular posts have reached 6 million. If you don't know me already,
Such is their influence, even posting the cover of a book can send it flying off the shelves.
I guess we're just making books more appealing to them, because at school the teachers do the complete opposite of that, I think.
I've taken it as a task to visualize books, because you see them in the paper, it's not really anything you want to put your time and effort in. It looks like school. So showing people on TikTok what books are through photos, imagery and music is really catchy.
The video they created for this book, We Were Liars, has been viewed more than 5 million times and generated a boom in sales.
One of my kids forwarded me a TikTok video and said, "You seem to be popular on TikTok." And I was quite surprised. A month later, I was back on the New York Times bestseller list.
And how did that feel?
Great. Fantastic. They have far surpassed when it was on the bestseller list in 2014, and they have stayed booming since last June.
And it surprised these TikTok stars too, who are making books cool for kids. Sejal Karia, News at 10.
Famous inventor Thomas Edison stated, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. Encourage, enlighten, empower."
And we're back. Welcome to our Author's Corner. We are happy to have Sophia Robinson, author, editor, storytelling coach, and the creator of the Writing Black Joy Project, to center and celebrate the joyful stories of Black authors. Her books include Everything's a Thing, My Journey to Leading a Truly Authentic Life, Lessons in Love and Well-Being for Dentists, Thrive in Your Practice and Every Area of Your Life. As a coach and editor, Sophia helps clients create content that connects with their audience right where they are. And she loves working with Black writers to bring their joyful stories into the world. In addition, she is a keen world traveler who uses her writing to explore her experiences and philosophy on life, sprinkled with fun, humor, and big love from a small island. In her spare time, you'll find her enjoying island sunsets, baking delicious treats, spending time with friends or family, and making corny jokes. Welcome.
Hi, Sophia. Can you share your passion and your purpose with us? And also, could you share what inspired you to write your book, Everything is a Thing, your journey to leading a truly authentic life?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. So, good questions. In terms of my passion is I love writing. I think that's probably my number one passion is the actual writing. I also do love supporting writers and interviewing them and sort of working with them. But I think number one for me is just writing and how, sort of like experiencing and exploring my own thoughts of the world through writing. In terms of what made me write the book, I fell in love with nonfiction writing when I was in my 20s and I was traveling. I was living in the UK at the time and doing a lot of traveling with my best friend. And, I realized early on, like, I need to chronicle these experiences. Like I can't, I'm never going to remember. I always remember taking this one amazing trip and thinking, oh, I'm going to remember this forever. And 6 months later, I was like, what was the name of that town? So I started writing, started sending out emails to my friends, and just really fell in love with nonfiction writing. Started a blog coming up to my 40th birthday. And the book was just like a culmination of just a lot of ideas, posts that I'd written over the years, and just the idea that you get to, we always have this thing about everybody's doing this and everybody's doing that, and kind of trying to fit in with what's going on around us. Whereas the whole idea behind everything is a thing is like, everything is a thing. If you want to do it this way, do it this way. If you want to do it that way, do it that way. And that can be applied to like any area of your life. So it was just a story that I wanted to tell. Thought it would be fun, and it was. So I did.
I love your perspective in your title. Everything is a thing. You're exactly right.
Sophia, your second book, Lessons in Love and Well-Being for Dentists, thrives in your practice in every area of your life. Mm-hmm. You mentioned on your website for 20 years that you have worked as a dentist in both public and private health settings, as well as for nonprofit dental organizations. During that time, you've struggled with physical health issues and burnout, and used many of the tools and techniques in this book to return to a thriving life. You now want to share these techniques with other dentists so that they too can find more well-being and joy in every aspect of their lives. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey to healing and thriving?
Sure. I feel like I don't want to say it's a trick question, but just FYI, everybody, the journey never ends, right? So that's the first thing I will say. But so far, I mean, it's been a lot. It's one of those things, like, I think it's hard to imagine what a dentist spends their time doing unless you actually go and spend some time in a dental office. So I wanted to, because having done it for so long, I was like, I want to write something for other people. We have common experiences to really understand what each other is going through. In terms of my own journey, I was diagnosed with underactive thyroid quite a few years ago. And anybody who knows anything about like having thyroid issues is just that you just start to get worn down and tired and weary. And I just felt like, I'm in my 30s, I should have energy, I should feel good. And I was just exhausted all the time. And so one of the things I did to kind of, after going to the doctor and they put me on this medication and stuff like that, and they were like, oh, you're going to be on this medication for the rest of your life. And I was like, yeah, no, that doesn't sound right to me. I don't want to do that. So I was looking for alternative solutions, and I came across a course for health coaches. I'd never heard of health coaching before. I'd never heard of coaching before, actually. And so I took this course thinking, I would learn a lot about, managing my own health condition and that type of thing. I didn't learn it in the format that I thought, because in my mind, I was thinking, they might tell you like, eat this thing, or like, I don't know, here are some exercises to do. But it was an integrative course, and it really talks about how every aspect of your life feeds into your health. It's not just what you eat or the exercises that you do. It's like the nature of your work. It may be your house. It may be your cooking, your home cooking. It may be your relationships. There's so many different things that feed into how well you feel. And that's not just physical wellness, but also like your mental health and, all of that. So from the time I got introduced to that concept, I was just like, I wanted to share it with people, because I felt like we focus so much on like, eat these healthy things, go to the gym, and not thinking about how everything else in our life would feed into your well-being. And so for me, putting those things into place, a part of it was making sure I focus on other things. That's part of the reason I started writing again, because I was like, I love writing. I enjoy it. I need to make time for these things that I actually enjoy, making time for my relationships. Yes, the different things that you eat and whatever. There's a chapter in there that a really good friend of mine wrote who's a yoga therapist, and she did a lot of stretches and that type of thing. So it was just for me, like bringing together a lot of things that worked for me and that continue to work for me and that I continue to tweak, but creating it for somebody else who, like, I understand we understand each other, we understand each other's experience. And so this is something that's created especially for us from inside the ranks, if that makes sense.
Well, thank you for that. Really appreciate that perspective. And as a person who also has a thyroid condition, I totally hear where you're coming from. And, here at Bookish, our mission here is to encourage and empower 5 million men and women to share their stories with the world. So I'd love for you to tell our listeners right now, our viewers, what advice would you give anybody who's interested in becoming a first-time author?
Don't write alone. Like I think we always imagine that cottage in the woods and you're on your own typing away, but no, like never write alone. There's so many writing groups out there. You could hire a coach or an editor, but never, ever, ever write alone. You cannot write a book alone. You, aside from that community that you need to kind of support you to get across the finish line. Devin has talked so much over the last few weeks about publishing and different ways to promote your book. And all of those things require collaboration, require community. You need people to buy that book or whatever the case may be. And sometimes you just need somebody to tell you, keep writing, even when you feel like it's garbage, because sometimes that's how you feel, even when it's amazing, right? So never write alone. Always have that community and have that support. That would be what I would say.
Safia, how are you? Thank you very much for sharing our story. I tell you, I love the whole concept of nonfiction. I've read so many nonfiction books that I realized that it's nonfiction to the writer and the subject, but it's fiction to me. That was my fantasy world, was going into somebody else's reality. So the whole concept of nonfiction is awesome. So love that mission. But please, can you tell us about your Writing Black Joy project? Love to hear that, about how it celebrates joyful stories of Black authors. And then please tell us how we at Bookish can support your mission and your vision.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's actually my passion project. That's just like something I started. It was a bit of an experiment that I was doing, because growing up, I always felt like a lot of the books that I grew up with reading that were by Black writers, or, whether they were fiction or nonfiction, Black characters, I felt like they were so heavy and I couldn't find those lighthearted books. And I mean, there is a reality that the publishing industry is very white. So I think that also will kind of contribute to what books are published, what's out there. But now it's 2022. At the time it was 2021. A lot of people are self-publishing. People are getting their stories out there. They have podcasts, they have YouTube channels, they have the storytellers are getting their stories out there in different ways. And I realized, like, there are writers out there, there are Black writers out there telling these joyful stories, these uplifting stories. And I wanted to be able to kind of like amplify it a little bit, push it out a little bit further. So I created the project to share both excerpts from their work, but also share interviews with the actual writers herself, talking a bit about the writing process. So at the moment, we're in season 2, right in the middle of season 2. So if you want to help support me, like, go and have a listen. If you are a writer or creative, I feel like you will always get something from it. I'm interviewing different types of storytellers. So we talk a lot about writing creativity. We talk about the writing process itself and the writing life. Each guest has their own story. So, like, for argument's sake, in the next couple of weeks, there's one friend of mine on who, he shares his story about writing a book as somebody who suffers with dyslexia and ADHD. But I've had lots of other writers on there. I've had children's book writers on there. One guy who wrote a book for his daughter so that he could see, like, some sort of representation for her to read. I've had, people. Last week's guest, she wrote a devotional. I've had playwrights on there. I've even had people who support writers. So I've had a couple of editors on. I've had a literary agent. So it's just a whole resource that is there for my fellow writers, my fellow storytellers, but also to celebrate and to kind of like push this work further out into the world. Like, there are Black writers out there writing all types of stories. And I just wanted to be able to not just feature it, but like, just give it that little push and send it further into the world. So if you want to help, go subscribe to my YouTube channel, search for Writing Black Joy, subscribe to my podcast, just check it out, take a listen and let me know what you think. Leave a review or just hit me up on Instagram, follow at Writing Black Joy. Tell me what you think about it. That's what I would say.
Thank you. I tell you, one of the messages I've learned about life is you're supposed to find something that you're passionate about and figuring out a way of making a living at it. So, Safia, your passion comes bleeding through in your discussion and the energy in your eyes. It's so beautiful when we find things that we're passionate about. So, we here at Bookish want to really thank you for coming and sharing your story with us. I hope it's inspired other people to get involved in the writing process. So what you want to do is you want to join our Bookish book club at thrivingwomennetwork.com and subscribe so that you too can get involved. We're here to motivate writers. So you want to join us on our mission, please come and celebrate how much fun that we're having so that we don't get to do it alone. But when we come back from break, we all are going to share our Bookish club recommendations. Thank you very much, everyone.
There were two white men who were offering opportunity, and they took that opportunity and kept their careers alive and the door open to let someone like me in. It's funny when I look at my career, I also on the one side of my career there's Ralph Farquhar, and I think from his lineage he was in Gary Marshall and I think Norman Lear rooms, which were interesting because they were men who were a lot more open to giving opportunities. I have heard even from my other mentors, Sarah Finney Johnson and Vita Spears, they came out of, I think, a Norman Lear writers program. And we're still doing really great in our career. And as we keep the door open, meaning just by staying employed and being in a position to be a showrunner and an employer, we can hire people. We can help develop and spot the next talent and keep them in the business. So then out of my room, Kenya Barris, who's running Blackish, and I think he has another show coming out. Karen just is running Star, and she's done other things. Prentice Penny. I'm so proud of him. He was my realtor's cousin, and she tells me about him, and he was working in another industry, and he really just wants to be a writer. He went to USC. Mara, can you give him a break? I meet with him. He was lovely. He was in my room, and he was in at Girlfriends for, I don't know, four seasons, maybe 5 seasons, gone on, and now he's running Insecure and doing other things. Lee Daniels, who's keeping the door open and bringing other talent in. You can start to see the importance of not only my storytelling, but my staying in the business, because in a lot of ways, and other people who have the opportunity, who they also let in and help develop. I'm very proud of that, plus the actors that are out there who, because the door was open and because I can see your value and want to help develop it, just as mine was, you know what I'm saying? And just as I was afforded that privilege, which should be which you would think just should be norm, should be granted, but it feels like a privilege. It would be great if the white guys hired. It would be great, and it would change the industry overnight. It also would change the industry about making better storytelling. I think the more diverse the people sitting around that table, the more rich I think the programming can be and moving. But I'm also starting to get to a place where, you know what? It's almost to my advantage that you don't see the advantage and the value. Don't hire us. Look what Shonda's doing. It's starting to, by virtue of the audience having really the ultimate power about what stories they want to see, ultimately, if we can sort of keep the door open for ourselves and see that our success is not only the paycheck that we get, not only the privilege of telling that story, but how many people that we get to develop and feed into the system, and you miss them, that then now, just from a business, if I just want to be from a strict business perspective, then you know what, let me go find those writers. I value them. I'm looking for
them. We're back.
We are totally back, and welcome to our Bookish Club, the segment where we share the books that we read to help encourage you to venture outside of perhaps your comfort zone and take a journey and explore reading new fiction and nonfiction books. So why don't we just jump right in? I know I have a lot to say this week, so Linda, get us started.
Okay, my book for this week is called Footsteps of the Fearless by, I mention this guy's name almost every week probably, Greg Reed, because he's my mentor. And the reason I selected this book is this is the book that started my journey. This book, I read a book by Greg Reed called Footsteps of the, called 3 Feet from Gold, which I mentioned several weeks ago. But this one is the one that I wrote my first chapter in. So this is the first collaboration book I was ever in, called Footsteps of the Fearless. And I was in this book because during that year, it was 2015, I was breaking through a fear every single day for that entire year. And when I was talking to Greg one day, he said, hey, I'm writing a book called Footsteps of the Fearless. You're breaking through a fear every day. You're a perfect fit for this book. So I went ahead and signed up to be a collaborator in this book. And I got to share with you, I was scared. I was scared to put my words on paper. And so even though the book came out, it became a national bestseller, I myself was too scared to even tell anybody that I was in this book. I was experiencing so many fears in my life, you know, and as you can see, I'm not in that place anymore because I'm here doing this and, you know, writing all these books and publishing and doing all these things. But this was really the catalyst that got me started on a brand new journey. So this was a life-altering book for me. So my vote this week, my vote is Footsteps of the Fearless by Greg Reed and Linda Sunshine West. I'm in this book. There we go.
I love the whole idea of conquering fears. I don't want to get too philosophical here, but I think that's why we're here, is to walk through the challenges, the universe, the cosmic ooze, our family, all kinds of stuff cast upon us at any given moment. And I think it's exciting what you've done. And so I'm actually interested in reading this book myself, Linda. So I have Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream, Writing and Speeches That Change the World. I love this book. I mean, let me back up. Obviously, Martin Luther King is perhaps one of the most iconic people in American history, period. He did, in fact, change the world in remarkable ways. But what I think a lot of people kind of forget is that he was more than an icon. He was a brilliant writer and speaker. And I think a book like this is something you're supposed to have on your shelves just to see it, to read it, because it's really incredible writing. And what I'm about to read to you, which is what I love, it's a little bit of a long quote, but, you know, this is Martin Luther King, so, you know, cut me some slack. He does something that is sort of like an if-then statement, a when-then statement, which is basically where you have like a series of presentations that come to the conclusion. And he does it in an incredibly powerful way. Now, about to read, I'm going to edit a tiny, tiny little bit. It was a debate on my end because there's a little bit of language in there that may be offensive to some. And just to err on the side of caution, I'm just going to remove a few words. So I apologize to Martin Luther King and to purists, but, listen, we're a show. So when You suddenly find your tongue twisted and your speech stammering as you seek to explain to your 6-year-old daughter why she can't go to the public amusement park that has been advertised on television, and see tears welling up in her little eyes when she is told that Funtown is closed to colored children, and see the depressing clouds of inferiority begin to form in her little mental sky, and see her begin to distort her little personality by unconsciously developing a bitterness towards white people. When you have to concoct an answer for a 5-year-old son asking in agonizing pathos, "Daddy, why do white people treat colored people so mean?" When you take a cross-country drive and find it necessary to sleep night after night in the uncomfortable corners of your automobile because no motel will accept you. When you are humiliated day in and day out by nagging signs of reading white and colored. And when your wife and mother are never given the respected title of Mrs. When you are harried by day and haunted by night by the fact that you are a Negro, living constantly a tiptoe stance, never quite knowing what to expect next, and plagued with the inner fears and outer resentments, when you are forever fighting fighting a degenerating sense of nobodiness, then you will understand why we find it difficult to wait. And the wait that he was referring to, this letter, it comes from the Birmingham jail, one of his most iconic letters. It's pretty long for a letter, and he acknowledges that within the writing itself. He's writing that to other pastors around the country that he's in contact with, who are all saying, "Hey, hold off on your protests, hold off, wait a little bit longer." And this is part of his response. It's actually beautiful, eloquently written, and I would argue an absolute must read for anybody who is interested in social change, Martin Luther King, American history, and just as a good writer. Anyway, I think I'm done. Tim?
Devin, thank you very much. There's a common theme going on here. In fact, when I say I have solved the marriage problem, the solution is equality. And one of the things I do is I demonstrate to people that equality is freedom. Martin Luther King mentions the word freedom 11 times in his I Have a Dream speech. We forget the fact that we're fighting for freedom, not just socially, but in our relationships. But one of the things that I've discovered, so my book this week is called I Will Bear Witness by Victor Klemper. Let me give you the background on why I've selected this book and how it's influenced me. One of the things that I've discovered is that our mental problems are prejudices. So say mom and dad got divorced. Now you bring that fear. Funny that Linda was talking about fear, but hence the theme. When you take that fear into your marriage from your past, that's a prejudice. A preconceived opinion is a prejudice. And so what I'm doing, in fact, to give you sort of a psychological, Jungian psychological conversation, it's a prejudiced archetype. Archetypes are patterns of thought or symbolic imagery from the collective past. And what I've discovered, in fact, I have never found anything in the psychology world to talk about prejudice. So me introducing prejudice in the psychology world is new. But what it's saying is, from a Jungian archetypal perspective, we're taking prejudice used to be good. I grew up with the N-word with my dad. I mean, we were a society, we're taught us versus them. That is the way religions and governments have been built. But what we're doing now with democracy is we're learning that prejudice is bad. And I have found a book that actually was hidden in Berlin until the fall of the Berlin Wall, I Will Bear Witness. And if you can read up in the upper right, it's more disturbing. It's richer and more disturbing than Anne Frank's diary. This actually makes Anne Frank's diary look like a walk in the park. Victor Klemper and his wife survived Dresden, Germany during World War II. He wasn't even Jewish. He converted to Protestantism to marry his wife. And it's literally his day-to-day memoirs of what he and his wife struggled through in public under Hitler's regime. What I'm doing is I'm demonstrating in relationships, at least, how when you're controlling somebody, you're taking little pieces away from them and they lose their identity. That's obviously what happened to the people of the Jewish faith. But that's what we're doing in relationships as well. is we're taking things away. And what's amazing about the story is the physical breakdown of Victor and his wife because of all of the things that they had to suffer through during the Hitler regime. And in fact, I end this by saying that our former Surgeon General, T. Everett Koop, I forget his name, actually had stated that 80% of our physical problems are mentally based. And so if we don't open up to prejudices in our lives, it's actually not only psychologically damaging to us, but also biologically damaging to us. And so just like Devin said with the Martin Luther King, I'm adding it with this story as well. Get our head around this notion of prejudice is a bad thing so that we can advance as a civilization. So that's my story. Enjoy that book. It's a great book.
Well, that's just fascinating. Absolutely. I love how like all of our themes were, somewhat on the same genre, about, freedom, fear from freedom. Right. And so what we're so excited. Today's show was absolutely amazing. We hope you enjoyed, everything that we talked about today. Don't limit yourself to one literary category because you don't know what you don't know. So go out there, dive in there and find out what what's going to really benefit you and what's going to really move you into that next stage of your own life. Devin?
Well, I think we have had a fantastic show, and I want to thank everybody for joining us on Bookish Talk. As always, we hope that something we said encouraged, enlightened, or empowered you to begin your journey to write your legacy book. Tune in next week when we will share some tips on different ebook options that are available. Visit our website at www.thrivingwomen.com and subscribe and leave a comment or question in our live chat. Maybe we'll talk about it here on Bookish Talk. Thanks for everything, everybody.